press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to Highway on my podcast with Rocky, Mayur and Abhinandan.
We're back!
We're hungry!
And we are joining the two biggest men in Indian food and travel, Rocky and Mayur. And to provide sanity to this piece, Prashant Sareen, producer, director extraordinaire. And my name is Abhinandan Sekhri, and we are bringing you Highway on my podcast, the one travel experience that gets the highway to you in these COVID times when you can't get to the highway. We hope that we have entertained you, informed you, and also taken you for a trip down many a memory lane, those of you who have been to the places that we've spoken about. And if not, maybe given you a taste of what you should do once COVID is behind us.
Yes, and that's all your bad friends will take you for a ride, but only your good friends will take you for a trip down memory lane.
Wow,
How cool are we? English full.
English full, sir. English full. You're leaving the Angrez behind. And thank you guys so much. The feedback we've got, the mails we've got, the amount of you who have been wanting to subscribe to our newsletter. I repeat, if you want to get the newsletter that informs you of the anecdotes, the photographs of all the things we talk about, wherever you're listening to this podcast, there's a link there. You press on that link, it'll open a form. You enter that form and you'll get the newsletter. Or you could write into us at homp2020@gmail.com. I repeat, HOMP2020@gmail.com. And also don't forget to write in with your travel experiences, your food experiences, and stuff that you think you'd like to share with us and other friends who are listening to this podcast who are all food and travel enthusiasts. On that note, gentlemen, today we will take you on a trip with our fans and those hompers who have signed in for this homp community, who have sent experiences and advice on their travels. So this is dedicated to them, and we would like to do a few more of these. So write in with your suggestions, your travel advice, your travel experience to homp2020@gmail.com. homp2020@gmail.com. So before we start on these emails, on our wonderful people telling us,
अरे ये लड़का कितना बोलता है रॉकी? चपड़ 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 चपड़
Really, continuously jumped in. Ever since the podcast started, he's just been talking non-stop, man. He just doesn't give us a chance to talk.
so here's your chance. Before we move into the mails, I would like each of you, other than the people we've spoken about, the most memorable person who delighted you on our travels across the country and internationally, which you can never forget. You can choose more than one.
Wow, that's a big one, man.
Why don't you start, Prashant? Which memorable person will always be with you, who we met in these travels and have never met again?
My God, that's a big one.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I can think of one person who I won't forget. Her name was Sweeta. We met her at...
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Sweeta is this wonderful lady. She was so soft-spoken. She was beautiful. And she took us for a tour. What is it? A rum factory? क्या कहते हैं? Distillery कहते हैं? क्या कहते हैं भाई लोग?
Yeah, it was a rum factory.
Mauritius
Rum factory. Yep.
Rocky Shamarel, something do Shamarel.
The Rumari du Shamarel.
Rumari du Shamaral. And I will never forget, her voice was like an angel's, truly like an angel's. Her face was like an angel's. And, she explained, I know how to make rum. I was paying such attention.
I was completely distracted, to be honest. But then we went back there after like 5 or 6 years and we asked for her, but she has got married and had children. So you're too late, Niku. You will be single for a few more years. But she was very sweet. So this was...
And then I will die.
at this Rumari du Chamarel, which is a beautiful rum factory right on top of a hill, beautifully made. It's like a dream almost. It's so wonderfully done with flowers and long bodies of water with fountains, and it has the best Rum Baba in the world. And for those of you who've not had a Rum Baba, you should have one. It's like a beautiful sponge cake with the soaking of rum and cream, and of course there are many ways to make it, but that's the way they make theirs. It is absolutely the best Rum Baba in the world. So if you ever go to Mauritius, drive up to the hill, visit the rum factory and have the best Rum Baba in the world. And if you're lucky, Sweeta will be back from starting her family and she will be there and she will take you through a tasting of all the kind of rums that they have, at the end of which you'll be happy.
Dekha, this is the difference between a single boy and a happily married lover of food. The boy talks about Sweeta, The man talks about Rum Baba.
The Rum Baba that we got.
I don't know.
Listen, I have a sweet tooth, unlike other people who have a Sweeta tooth.
I have a Sweeta tooth and I have diabetes also. Another person I will never ever forget is the guy who we met at that, who predicted all sorts of things for all sorts of us.
Oh man, no. No, I know you. This was in Bangalore as Vidyarthi Bhavan.
Yes.
The watch. He had a watch shop or something. Babaji.
Yeah.
And I remember what he said about me.
Yes.
What did he say? What did he say, Prashant?
I'm not repeating.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not going to say one memorable person, but I remember the guy who owned the Upper Zing Zing Bar restaurant at, which pass was it? Yeah, it was
Baralacha.
Baralacha. At Baralacha La, Baralacha is the name and La is pass. So at Baralacha La, at quite a height, on either side of the pass, usually you have one eatery, which also doubles as a place to stay. And there was this young Ladakhi boy who was there. And he was really sweet and gentle. And, you know, we went in there. He had a stove right at the mouth of this long tent. And inside the tent, there were like 20 beds connected to each other on the ground. So when you slept, you literally touched the person next to you. So you could all stay warm, because the temperature at night became like -10, -15. And when we went there, we said, how come you don't have a board? He said, oh, maine liya tha board. So I said, phir kya hua? He said, वो लोग जो घर बनाता है ना, उसने चोरी करके अपना घर का छत बना दिया. So I said, so why didn't you take it back? So he says, अभी उसका छत थोड़ी तोड़ूंगा मैं नया बोर्ड ले लूंगा अगले साल. So I was like, how sweet, yeah. I mean, what a gentle way of looking at the world, that he knows who's stolen his board, he knows what they've done with it, and yet he won't take it back because they needed to cover their heads. They need a roof over their head. How loving.
Yep. So there have been some amazing. So you guys can keep.
I remember. And I'm surprised, Niku, you don't remember, because then you were paying a lot of attention, was our dear friend Raja at Mirissa in Sri Lanka. You remember him?
Yes.
Fisherman, he takes people out whale watching, surfer, old friend, just that happy energy, that like real joy for life. I mean, anybody who sees that clip, I mean, I think that clip might still be on online, because I just went to take a look at it a while ago, and just that vibrant joy for life was very, very beautiful. Yeah.
In fact, we'll send pictures of him in our Sri Lanka episode. You got to see that body, man. That body is a body like I would have liked to have. He has pecs, abs, triceps, biceps, and no pumping, shumping, just by fishing.
We all have those muscles. They're a little less visible in some cases.
Dab the drool, quickly dab the drool.
Dab the drool, yeah, I'm dabbing the drool. But in fact, there's a lovely picture with both of us flexing. And then there's one picture where he's walking on his hands as I'm walking on my feet. He's walking next to me on his hands. Like, he could walk as fast on his hands as I could on my feet. Amazing guy.
I remember the meal at his house that his mother cooked for us was so spectacular. Yeah, especially the tuna that she made.
Yeah, it was called Ambul Thayal.
Yeah, the very special dish that all the fishermen take with them.
Yeah, as long as you put any metal on it, they cook it, and they use the special souring and preserving agent. I think that tamarind also. And then as long as no metal touches, so you cook it in a wooden, in a clay pot, and then you use a wooden spoon, and it lasts for a month or so.
Yeah, for a long time
so
out at sea.
I didn't know that. So if no metal comes in contact with the dish, it can last like 4 weeks, huh?
Yeah. It's like a pickle. It's like a tuna pickle that they make.
Yeah, she said it can last a month and a half, but unlike a pickle, it wasn't spicy. It was just like a really delicious fish, sort of fish, masala fish kind of thing. And when she made it, she covered it in a barrel with a wooden thing. And she was like, use a wooden spoon but water shouldn't touch it and metal shouldn't touch it. And as long as you keep those two things away, it won't spoil, and you can keep eating it for a month and a half. So you can get that richness of spice. And I'm sure that Tamil Nadu will have an equivalent of that in Tamil Nadu somewhere or the other. So if you're listening and you know of a fish curry or any other sort of fish preparation or any other preparation that sailors take out to sea that doesn't spoil for a month and a half, write into us and tell us. We'll be fascinated to know. And I bet that there is something like that out there.
Yeah, I think most fishing communities would have something like that. So let's start with this email. It's from Sovesh.
Prashant ne nahi bataya abhi tak.
But sochega, he's a thoughtful type, no? Soch le, Prashant.
Hari sir.
Hari sir was amazing guy. What a wonderful.
Who is Hari sir?
Arey yaar, Tamil Nadu. Hari sir. Why Niku sir not getting married?
Oh, that's all. No, actually, the guy.
Steesh.
I mean, all the trips that I was driving the other car, Satish was driving the cab. He is a good, solid driver. And, solid as they come. Because I remember when he was returning from Leh, Subodh and I had stayed on. We wanted to go to Pangong and, all of those areas. And he was very tense because he was going to come back via Sonmarg, Srinagar and that route. And that is the time, I think it was 2010, when there was a lot of this patharbazi that was happening there. And he took off from there. And 24 hours later, we got a call from Delhi that he's reached Delhi.
Wow.
And I was like, how did you manage that? Yeah. Did you not sleep on the way? I was really blown by that. He just took off at 5 o'clock in the morning from Leh and he landed up like 5 the next day in the evening. He was at Delhi. It was just an incredible feat of driving.
Rocky, I think you should repeat your little challenge chat with him about that, because a lot of people might have missed it in that, and that's very endearing and tells people a lot about Satish specifically and Jats in general.
Yeah, no, but I did. We already spoke about it in one show, where how our Haryanvi friend Satish used to throw a number at us every time we entered a state. So when we entered Himachal, for example, he said 10,000. When we entered Punjab, he said 2 lakh. When we entered Jammu and Kashmir, he said 25,000. And I was like, what are these numbers you keep throwing? He said, this is the number of Jats it will take to occupy this state. So,
Yeah.
he had a very feudal mindset and the complete understanding that Haryana can take over and destroy any other state in this country in a fist fight, which I doubt. I mean, probably it can. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to go there and argue with the Haryanvis.
I'm not going to argue. As the Tripura, the only state that we haven't covered in this podcast or any of our shows is Tripura, and we should go there at some point. So guys, do write in and tell us what we should see in Tripura and what's the best time to visit. But I don't know whether you guys read the paper or online. Just 2 days ago, the very brilliant Chief Minister of Tripura, Mr. Dev, what's his first name?
Gym instructor Biplab.
Biplab Dev. Biplab Dev said that Bengalis are very intelligent, but Jats and Punjabis are not very intelligent. They're not bright. What did he say? That they're very dumb. I was like, dude, kaise logo ko chief minister bana diya?
Really? Well, he was a gym instructor who's now a chief minister.
Wow.
That's what happens when you take a jock out of the gym and make him chief minister. That's the kind of things he's going to say. What do you want him to say?
Exactly.
He's also of the firm belief that there was the internet around a couple of thousand years ago, and
Yes.
that
Smart technology.
Gaumutra cures all kinds of diseases like COVID and all that stuff. But he's willing to just talk about it, but not put his mind to it. And that's the problem with jocks like that. They can't put their mind anywhere properly. It doesn't sit easy inside the head, so they keep spurting out little things that don't make any sense.
But I think a far more interesting character is Satish, and ironically, Satish is like the gentlest Jat that you could ever come across. He was like a mouse. he would throw these numbers perhaps in the cab, but actually,
Remember when we almost had
he couldn't hurt a fly.
At Palwal.
Yeah.
in Palwal, and those
Right.
Jeep went by and they said something and they came back and we were like very happy to say we'll engage. And Satish was like, nee.
Nahi ladna, chalo, chodo.
Yeah, but he wasn't a small guy. Satish was a big guy. I think he was like 100 kilos when he came with us the first time, and he just got bigger after that.
Like the rest of you. So this email is from Sovesh Moharna. Hello RNM, I'm Sovesh and I'm from Cuttack. A massive fan of the shows as well as the podcast. First things first, I would like to apologize for the disappointing food trail in Cuttack. Hey, why do you have to apologize, Sovesh? Maybe we just didn't find the right places, man. 1, Cuttack biryani is absolute heaven. It is a fusion of Lucknowi and Hyderabadi biryani. And yes, it is known as Cuttaki biryani. You just need to know the right place to find it. I also loved your India's Most Haunted show. Any chance of a new season? Maybe some discussions on the podcast.
No.
My father used to love watching your shows along with me and mum. Now he is no more, but I believe he is always there with me when I watch you guys. Love and regards. May God bless you, Sovesh Moharna. Sovesh, that's a really
Thanks,
sweet mail, man.
thanks, Sovesh. That's a really sweet mail, man. God bless your dad. Wherever he is, I'm sure he's keeping an eye on you, man. So be a good man. And, thank you for writing in. Yeah, I mean, biryani is something that we look forward to in Cuttack. Going back is something that we look forward to. I mean, there are so many places that we rush through. I think this time we should slow down a little bit more and take our time to just sort of smell the roses along the way, because that's what life is all about, and that we've learned here. even though we are wearing a mask, roses still need to be smelled when you're on a journey.
No doubt.
Beautiful. And Sovesh, since we were just talking about Punjabi and Jat culture, and there is a lot of that, I just would like to appreciate the beautiful way you said, that sorry that you missed all the things and all, because the way somebody from Delhi or Punjabi would have said, यार क्या कर रहे हो यार, सारी गलत जगह पे घूमते हैं, ऐसी जगह पे थोड़ा ना खाते हैं, मैं बताता हूँ कहाँ खाते हैं. But you put it so beautifully. I mean, लखनऊ की याद आ गई, मित्र. Thank you.
And he also asked that any stories from your India's most haunted show, any memorable anecdote you have from there?
Mayur would rather not talk about it.
Mayur tried his best to kill himself during the making of that show. Now, more than ghosts with a whole unit, and I directed some episodes in that series. More than the ghosts in these places and the hauntings in these places, it was just the fact that these are very, very old places, most of them completely deserted. So, for example, we went to a haunted hotel in Pune, where a woman goes to the top floor of a broken down building and jumps off from the top of it and kills herself. And she's been repeating that for decades now. She killed herself because she was unhappy about something. And apparently her spirit comes and does that again and again. So between us, where we were standing, and the window that she jumps out of, there was a thick patch of undergrowth. And Mayur, of course, thought that it would be a great idea if he went and stood where she fell, through the undergrowth, through the bushes, and said, look, this is where that woman falls, and I'm looking around and there's nothing here. So, people are seeing, they're not seeing a reflection, etc., etc., just to sort of break down why people saw it if we could. And just before he went in, luckily we had this thermal imager. So we turned that thermal imager on and put it on the bush. And 5 feet from where Mayur was, and right in the path that he wanted to take, there were 2 huge cobras standing with their hoods sort of flared, waiting for Mayur to step in. And they must have been at least 7-8 feet long each. And there were 2 of them, and they were not attacking each other. They were standing side by side, looking at the point where Mayur was about to enter. So that was one. And I remember he almost killed himself. Another 10 seconds, he would have stepped in and he would have been bitten. And then, of course, when we went to the Bhuton ki Baoli in Rajasthan, near Jodhpur, it's about 70-80 kilometers, maybe 100 kilometers from Jodhpur. We went down to a Baoli which has like these giant steps which were made by giants, apparently. Like they were made by spirits from another world because they are massive. And there's a footprint there which is like about 2 feet long, then 2.5, 3 feet long. But anyway, we went down over there, and Mayur was standing very peacefully against the wall in a completely dark area which has a deep well. I mean, you throw stone and it takes 5 seconds to hit the bottom. So it's a really scary place, and you start going deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you get to the deepest part of the Baoli is the well, and Mayur was standing right next to it. And I had forbidden anyone from going forward because if they fell into the well, we would never be able to get them out. So Mayur was leaning against the wall, complete darkness, and I put on the night vision cam that I had, and I looked, and I saw these little glowing balls all around Mayur, on his shoulders, on his back, on his arms. And when I looked closely, there were giant spiders, man. He was covered with them. And they looked so deadly. I mean, I don't even want to think about what would have happened if even one had bitten him. So I just asked him very calmly. I said, Mayur, just come here. I have to show you something. When he came forward, I whacked off the 3-4 spiders that were left on his shoulders and back and also. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people almost got injured. Luckily, we were lucky to escape. Nothing happened to anyone, but that was the main scary part about that show for me. As for the ghosts, they never really made an appearance except for a couple of doubtful cases where, so I'm disappointed with them. So if you ever meet them, let them know that they're just full
they should have they should have the decency to come and say hello.
Yeah, and all in all, I would just say that there were many times in the show where I was like, oh no. Later in life, I looked back and said, I wish I'd known about adult diapers then.
So before I move on to the next email, Prashant, you want to think about someone else memorable from the many friends that we've made in our travels? Or should I come back to you after this mail?
We've covered Rama Mama, we've covered Tony Baji.
After the mail.
Okay, after the mail.
Yeah.
So this is from Abhiran. Abhiran said, just listen to your Goa podcast yesterday evening. It was brilliant. We transported back to a happy place in Goa for an hour. It was a stressful evening for me as one person in our department tested positive yesterday for COVID-19. Wow, okay, Abhiram. Thus, to get a happy kick through the Goa podcast meant a lot to me. Thanks to you guys. Your Andhra episode was also very good. It's so true as mentioned that in many ways, Andhra Pradesh is the Punjab of the South in terms of big food flavors. Rocky and Muir, my best wishes for writing the 3rd book, and I'm sure it will be brilliant as ever. In terms of your upcoming home show, you can always count me in for any kind of contribution. Your team holds a special place in my heart and tummy, and I always believe in giving back to people who make you happy. Thanks so much, Abhinan. We'll let you know once we start that project. And for ideas and upcoming shows, as mentioned in one of my previous emails, I would love for you guys to try some wedding food menu in multiple states. Isn't the wedding menu in most cases an excellent layout of the local food? Of course, invitations will be needed unless you guys decide to crash. What do you think? Keep the entertainment on. And one more mail that he sent. Just heard the fan podcast episode. You truly have some of the best fans. Can't wait to see all of you back on the road to the new season of Home. If it's a crowd-funded project, count me in. I'm a massive follower of Rocky and Mayur. And the podcast has become a weekly practice now and something that I look forward to. Used to be hungry watching Home. And now I get hungry listening to the podcast. Good times like these are sometimes frozen in time. Thanks, Abhiram. I hope you're fine. And so is your flatmate. And I hope everything's worked out. Do take precautions and make sure that you take good care of your health with some healthy food other than the shit that we guys also suggest.
Hey, we don't suggest bad food, okay? We suggest the food of India. It's very good. And Abhiran is an old friend. He has been writing to us and sending us mails and being in touch on social media everywhere. So Abhiran is like the consummate, ultimate sort of fan of the show. And, a lot of respect to you, Abhiran. Lately, he has taken it upon himself to send a mail to Nat Geo every time I post a picture of my birds on Instagram. It's called Birds of India or Ornithophile Ind. So go there and see that. And every time I post a bird, he sends a message to Nat Geo saying, you have to see Rocky Singh's birds and put him on Nat Geo. But they haven't listened yet. And he's been doing that for days. So Abhiran is one hell of a guy. And once he makes up his mind about something, he just goes about doing it. So tip of the hat to you, Abhiran.
Yeah, man. Satish has his 5,000 charts. If we had 5,000 members in the community, home community like Abhiran, life would be set. We could take over the world.
And we shall, no doubt we shall. But with love and travel and stories of travel.
By God.
So this is from Mahendar. He has a question. Boys, even if I've tried this, I wouldn't remember. Have you guys tried the aloo fry and dal meal in Zukau Valley in Kohima? Zuku Valley in Kohima. If you're responding to this mail in the podcast, please forward the URL. Well, I don't know if I know we went to Kohima. Did we go to the Zuku Valley?
We went to Spur Cafe. We went to, it was called King Chili. We went to Chongsang.
So is the Zuku Valley like a valley or is it a restaurant? I mean, is this the name of a restaurant?
I remember Zuku was a valley.
It's a good question. That is a good question, sir. Let's move on.
and our friend Karen actually runs a restaurant that offers all the food and the experiences of Nagaland. It's called Zuku. It's in Delhi, in Arkipuram.
Oh yeah, so we've had the dal and aloo over there. It's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe so there's a Zuku here in Delhi as well.
Yes, it is. That's our friend Karen's restaurant.
Oh, so that also serves food from Nagaland?
Yes.
So you've tried it in not the Zuku Valley in Kohima, but you've tried the dal fry and the potato fry and the dal in the Zuku Valley in Delhi. And what is that like? How's that different from other dals and alus?
Completely different herbs and stuff. Yeah, they don't use that many spices and stuff, right? Basically, they have the chili, but then a lot of their spices and all are only foraged. I don't even remember the names of them. So you get a very, very different flavor. And then again, they believe in fermenting, pickling, smoking. So it's a completely different gastronomic journey or experience for the taste buds. Prashant, I'm sure, has eaten there.
No, I haven't.
No, if you guys haven't, you must go and try it. It's very close to where it's just opposite all the malls, that big mall road in Basant Kunj. Opposite that, there's the old.
Right. The old, correct. The old.
I didn't know about this place. I mean, the only place I knew that served Naga food was the Naga kitchen, which I've eaten at a couple of times. But this one is what I'll try it.
Yeah. So this one is called the Zuku Tribal Kitchen, and they make food from the Zuku Valley, which is it is like a proper valley. And the best I can say is I think it's between Manipur and Nagaland, and it's like one of those really beautiful undulating green grassy landscapes. And the food is supposed to be quite phenomenal over there. I think it's the Angami tribe, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember Karen telling me that she's from the Angami. So I'm assuming putting two and two together. But either way, if you're in Delhi and you want to have some really nice Naga food, go to the Zuku Tribal Kitchen and have it. It's in Basant Kunj. And if you're ever in Nagaland, go down to Zuku Valley. It's supposed to be completely beautiful. And we've had the dal and the aloo for sure. And I've had a lot of the pork. So everything is great at Zuku. And their momos are brilliant, by the way.
Yeah. Fried grasshoppers.
Now, this email is from Wei. Wei says, hello guys. I was listening to the episode. No way. I was listening to an episode on Andhra Pradesh today, which happens to be my home state. It was lovely to listen to you share your experiences, but let me take this opportunity to share with you one gem of a place you should cover in your future trips. Bhimavaram is the Andhra of Andhra. Wow. People across the state go crazy for the food of Bhimavaram because of its richness in terms of its spices, sweets, and non-veg dishes. It also has its own evening snack called bhaji mixture. And you guys must also explore the dosa places of Hyderabad. There are quite a few of them. By the way, there are two things in the podcast that I'd like to highlight. Prakasham Barrage in Vijayawada is across River Krishna and not Godavari. Okay. And Bandar in Bandar Laddu stands for the older name of Machilipatnam, which was Bandar. Some old timers call it Bandar even to this day, which is because it was one of the oldest ports of the East Coast. Port is called Bandar in Persian. In Hindi, we popularly call it Bandargah. Way. Hey, Way, thanks so much. I love these mails that give you little tidbits of why a place is called whatever it's called, what the old name was and what the new name was.
Actually, we did mention that in the show. I mean, I know in the podcast we had lots of fun making up all sorts of reasons why it could be called Bandar Laddu and Bandar Laddu. But we had done our research. So on the show, we'd mentioned that it's the old name for a port. And that's why it was called. Hence, Port Bandar also. Because it was one of the major trading posts in its time. So
Yeah. But I mean, Andhra, there are so many great cuisines and, there's some wonderful stuff out of Andhra. So I think I'm the happiest if we go there because I love spicy food and, of course, lots of seafood, lots of meat. That's really my kind of place to go to. So I always enjoy going to Andhra. It is like, it's a dream, man. I've been tied up at home for so long eating proper food, home food, which is so subdued as compared to these wild spices and flavors that Andhra throws into their cuisine.
Which is improper food.
No, I mean, it's just so good, yeah. It's so solid on your palate. Like I said, it's wild, it's compared to the tame food I have at home. This is like a lion compared to the sort of little doggy that I have at home. So this is like, I want to go for a safari to Andhra Pradesh and eat all that food, man.
I agree. Home food is like, Andhra food is like,
I see. So now this email comes to us from Sujay. Sujay Pan, I'm not sure how you pronounce this, but I love how he's written this mail. Sujay says, hey guys, it brings me so much joy to even type this message out to you lot. All of you and your stories remind me of this sher. Kabhi shaakh par, kabhi burg par, kabhi gun chahe gulon khar par, main chaman mein chahe jahan khilun, mera haq hai fasle bahar par. Translation, be it on a bark, on the stem or the root or in the flower garden. Wherever I bloom, I have the full rights on everything that blooms in our beautiful paradise. What a lovely thought, yeah. What a lovely sentiment.
It is. Thank you. That's such a beautiful sentiment to send. And I mean, between that and the blooming nutcases we had on this show, we have a full variety of blooms. But yeah, beautiful, man. Oh, sorry, I forgot his name. What was his name?
Sujay goes on to say, could not agree more with you when you say that food and the stories around food bring us all together. As Indians, we are now seeing a time where this repressive idea of oneness is being forced down our system. To those people, I say no with a capital N-O. We are all different and unique with our own stories, food, culture, tradition, what have you. The only thing we have that is the same is the copious amounts of love for each other in this country. As a Fauji kid myself, having been in an Air Force family and lived in the best Air Force stations and thought of Sunday biryani in the mess only made better if it is right after a holy party or the Wednesday continental spread, nothing beats Fauji kitchens and messes. I think of how lucky I am to be born into a forces family, and I give it full credit to make me understand the true value of discipline and the method in daily life, and above all, the true meaning of a democracy. Your show just made that deep-seated love for our country and its people and its democracy even richer. In conclusion, I would like to say that having had the honor of watching you when I was in school from season 1 to now, I have to say that you guys are family, man. If you ever drop by to Bangalore, please let me know. Nothing better than a Sunday morning spent at Koshi's. Right now, I'm stuck in Delhi with my family inside a Fauji campus, and you are invited to our house anytime, and we can serve you all the cold coffee you can have with loads of custard and jelly. Looking forward to meeting you and joining you on the road. Jai Homp!
Hey, what a lovely mail. Give him a hand here. That is incredible.
Yeah, beautiful mail, man. Jai.
Woohoo! This is the beauty of being in the Indian Army. Yeah. This is the ethos of the army. This is the spirit, the soul, the very sort of backbone that makes up people in the Indian Army. They're all brothers and sisters here. They're all one. And Sujay is such a great representation of that. And his mail is so beautifully written with so much heart here. I mean, I can just see how deeply he feels about this country and about us being united here. And I think anyone who doesn't feel that should be ashamed of themselves and should realize that they're the true bloody anti-nationals who deserve to be, I don't know, I'm not even going to say anything more about them. They're just disdainful, disgusting, petty, slimy, bad people. And Sujay,
Chalo, I'm glad you are saying nothing about them. I'd hate to see what you'd say if you were saying things about them.
But Niku, you were asking about the kind of people that we met and who struck me as, I mean, I think in Homp, not so much, but in Jai Hind, virtually in every other episode, you found really, really extraordinary men and women here. You know, I remember, Major Vikrant, right?
yes, of
you
course.
guys, I think, Niku, you were not there on that shoot. And we shot with him on Hawes. And a special forces guy from a very elite unit, young fellow, top shape, great attitude. And I remember we kept in touch, and after about 3-4 years, every 3 months, 4 months, sort of speaking on the phone, I got this call and he said, sir, aapke gaon mein aa gaya hu main. I said, Arey, wow, you're in Delhi? Where are you? He says, base hospital mein hu. Without any, I mean, his tone was just so normal. Base hospital mein hu. I said, kya hua base hospital mein? He says, parachute nahi khula, hota hai kabhi kabhi. And the fellow had a fall like he had jumped on these very high, these high altitude sort of jumps that they do, where they jump from like 15,000 feet, 16,000 feet, halo, high altitude, low opening kind of shoot that he was doing. And he was so low when his parachute failed him. And he crashed in the ground with his supplementary just sort of flaring out, and he broke both his legs. He was in the base hospital. Must have been extremely, extremely painful, scary experience for him. But he was just so blasé about it. I was like, dude, how do you go through this here? And he was like, so there's so many such people that one came across, for their hospitality, for their openness, for their professionalism. The helicopter pilots that we met from the Army Aviation Corps in Nasik, just brilliant people. How they tame their machine and how they fly it, and just their attitude towards life. It was such a humbling experience each time we went into their camps. It just left you thinking, Arey wow, yaar, wish we had just got a chance to just serve in the forces just for 2-3 years. And I think it would be such a great experience if actually India had that, what Israel has. Before you go to college, you go into the forces for a couple of years or 1 year, whatever that term is. But I think it just would do so much good to the discipline of the people in this country.
Yeah. No, I think right from the time of independence, the two things that were sort of always holding the country together, one was, of course, the army, the greatest institution of India, as I keep saying. And the other one was Bollywood, the movie industry. All their movies were about unity, anti-caste, anti-rich.
Yeah, the whole Amar Akbar Anthony kind of formula.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine a film like that getting made today? I mean, I don't think so.
No, it won't get made today because both these great institutions have sort of fallen into some kind of rut where, there's so much with the army. I mean, there's every day you have people coming on board who were soldiers. They're coming on the news. They're fighting with each other. They're disgracing themselves. I mean, it's embarrassing for me to watch.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I'm not going to get into it too much because, I don't want to disrespect anyone who's ever had anything to do with the army. But people who still create divides after having been in the armed forces are just incorrigible people, man. There's nothing to say about their souls have already been lost to the devil. But let's forget about that because there is no devil because I'm an atheist to start with. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking back when you were talking about what great guys, I was thinking back to the two pilots we met in the helicopter trying to, get to a 24,000 foot base where the helicopter barely has any lift. I mean, these helicopters can't fly at that altitude. It's very hard to fly them. And they can barely carry any weight to get there. And they've got to supply these guys with kerosene or fuel or food that keeps them alive. Because without that, you can't survive on those altitudes and those temperatures, which are well into the minus 30s, minus 40s. And there was a whiteout coming down and there was a projection. The whiteout is when the cloud descends on the mountain and the cloud and the mountain and the snow and everything turns white. So you don't know whether you're upside down or straight or going forward or back. And it's very dangerous. for pilots especially. But these guys, they were just discussing this and they said, look, we've got to get those supplies to those men up there because they are absolutely zero on fuel almost. And this run has got to be made today, no matter what happens here. And they went there, and I think the whole unit was just sort of, including us, we were all standing there biting our nails there. And when about 35, 40 minutes later, when they appeared back on the horizon, you could just feel this collective sigh of relief. That two of our finest have made it back alive. And that's the sort of commitment these guys have to each other and to the country here. So, I never grudge the guys in the armed forces that little bit of comfort that they get when they're at home base or in their mess or having a drink or, eating from a spoon that's been in the unit for 100 years. Never grudge them that, never grudge them their discipline and their neatness and their meticulous nature, because these guys put their lives on the line every day in reality, not just through bullshit talk like a lot of people in this country do.
Yeah, but speaking of people who are...
एक question पूछना, अगर आज की, there was a very powerful point and Rocky didn't complete that thought that, the army and the Bollywood, like they really stood for something and they were actually unifying forces and all. But आज की date पे Amar Akbar Anthony अगर बनाते, guess what they would rename it?
What?
Amar Ram Janambhoomi.
Yeah, they would probably name it Amar Ashutosh and Abhinandan.
Abhinandan.
But that is actually, it's really sad that both of these institutions, and I call the film industry also an institution, after all, like you said, they were a very strong integrative force in this country for the people. I think both of these institutions are under stress right now. And it's a real pity. When I see the army and, the leadership of the army do the kind of stuff that they do, it just sort of, my mind just goes to, that captain, the major, the colonel. The people on the ground, the boots on the ground, the people who sort of, are up there in the front lines. What they must be thinking and what they must be going through. If you politicize something like this, then you just have another police force, except that they're not in khaki, they're in olive greens.
And except that they're a lot fitter and capable a lot more.
And they're fitter and they're more dangerous, far more dangerous than the damn cops, So
Prashant showing his usual love for the constabulary.
Yeah, no love for them. I understand the problems that they face and I empathize with that. But I think any institution that is let down by its leadership, that institution really needs to reflect for its mess.
Now, speaking of people, very inspiring people we've met, I don't want to take names. I'm not even going to tell which city or state this was in, but I'm sure you will know what I'm talking about. So we met this person who took us fishing. And, when you go fishing, like when you go game fishing, you don't kill the fish. You catch the fish and you measure it and you get a picture and you throw it back in. But you can't, if you're moving forward at 40 kilometers per hour, you can't put the fish backwards like the water's running from the wrong end of the gills. So this person who had set up this fishing expedition experience as Rocky and me caught a tuna while I was doing ulti on the side. The sea was so choppy. We were on this very high speed boat which was going up, down. So I was directing and doing ulti at the same time. We caught this tuna and this guy put it backwards. Zindi machli ko maar diya. What a joker.
He drowned the hell out of that poor fish, man.
I shall never forget.
Must be a huge tuna, yeah? Tuna is a large fish,
No,
right?
it wasn't very... I know, a full-grown tuna is very large, but this was a smaller one. It was like twice or thrice the size of Rocky's hand. Yeah, so it wasn't one of those big-ass 4 feet, 5 feet ones. That's why we put it back in. If it was that big, we would have got it back and already made tuna sandwiches here. It was a little tuna.
Mayur and I were shooting for Mauritius Tourism, and we were on a game fishing boat early in the morning, and we kept catching a lot of sort of small fish. I think we kept catching smaller tuna. We got a wahoo. We got a couple of snapper. We got a whole bunch of fish. And then finally, we saw these birds diving into the water, and we headed over there with our lines being dragged behind. And immediately, all the lines got hit by fish, and 2 managed to snag on, because a lot of times the fish rip the line hook out of their mouth, or they straighten the hook out. And we brought in 2. I brought in mine first. It was about 65, 70 pounds. And it was about 5 feet long. And then Mayur brought in a monster at about 95, almost 100 pounds, which was about 6.5, 7 feet long. It was bigger than us. And it was a huge fish. And before we could even think of throwing them back, the captain just clubbed them instantly because he really wanted that meat here. So we had fresh tuna for like about 3 days after that, which was pretty incredible.
So this email is from Karthik. Karthik says, "Hey Ramp. Ramp is Rocky, Abhi, Mayur, Prashant. Please upload more episodes. Seeing a dry run for many days." No, yeah, we've just turned it into a weekly from a bi-weekly. That's all. My question to Mayur is, does he feel emasculated when taken to eating places most of the time when he has nothing to eat and Rocky trolls him? And where can I watch the first season of Home? I miss that. Still remember all your jokes and places. I remember Mayur explaining the difference between shikanji and shikanjui. Okay, Mayur, you have to explain it again because I don't remember this. And Rocky's Una Tuna Ki Luna joke. Yeah, I remember Una Tuna Ki Luna. I want to see the first season badly. What was that thing about not having a giant cutout hoarding in Haryana that you mentioned in one of the podcasts, Mayur? Can you share the story behind it? What was the story about a giant cutout in Haryana, Mayur?
So shikanji and chikanji मुझे नहीं याद क्यों. I'm busy trying to find my masculinity, which was lost because I didn't get.
No. He says, did you feel emasculated?
Yeah, so I'm trying to de-emasculate.
De-emasculate.
I don't know shikanji and chikanji, but giant cutout. I have no idea. What did we speak of? A giant cutout in Haryana? Did he say?
Yeah, in Haryana.
We spoke of a giant cutout of
Tamil Nadu.
In Tamil Nadu, we spoke about it.
Arigiri.
It was Aragiri's cutouts. And it was Chidambaram's town. Yeah, it was in Chidambaram, I think, or one of those places.
Madurai.
Madurai. It was, which one was it?
Madurai.
Anyway, the politics of Tamil Nadu are just eternally, incredibly surprising and humorous. I mean, the things that the politicians of Tamil Nadu do in deadly earnest is the most hilarious things that I have seen in my life. So a salute to all of them. If they weren't around, the world would be a less funny place. But yeah, Haryana, I don't remember. And as for emasculation, thank God, Mayur, you're like this after you're emasculated. Can you imagine if you weren't emasculated, what you would have done to all of us? You would have killed us.
So, Karthik, most of your questions remained unanswered because clearly none of us remember much of this. But I'm with you on, I'd love to watch, because I was watching the reruns of Home. Like I showed you, my nephews got hooked onto Home. So he keeps watching the same episodes again and again because they keep showing the same coast to coast and hills and stuff. But some of our most fun moments in our first episode, and because those were probably shot on low resolution cameras and not on these EX whatever series that came once the HD and digital cameras came, no one will ever see those season 1. Yeah, I've said this before. I'd like to we have the backups in office, Prashant?
Yeah, we do. We have the tapes.
We should just sit in office and watch season 1 sometime, yeah, when Rocky was also thin.
Yeah, we should actually digitize them, yeah. I don't know how good the tapes would be after all this time.
We have the footage. I'm talking about the masters. Do we have the masters?
Yeah, we've got the masters on tape.
But I have all the CDs of Highway on my plate and all the series we made. Yeah. So I have a whole bag full of them and they're kept in mint condition, as mint can be.
You know now that in 2018 all CDs expired. That was the expiry date.
So did my great-grandfather, but he's still around drinking whiskey here.
For a moment, Rocky actually believes that.
We Punjabis don't believe in expiry. We are forever.
Don't lie now. I also believe that.
But Govind, let's get together and watch season 1. Yeah, it'll be so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. I put out the video of the first episode of Highway on My Plate, the opening shot where Mayur and I are standing on the outskirts of Delhi introducing ourselves, and I'm saying he is Mayur and he is a vegetarian, and I am Rocky and I am not a vegetarian. I am the meat eater, and we are going. It was so stiff and so.
I was like,
and then you guys jumped onto that rickshaw, poor chap, that rickshaw.
Yeah.
Where did you post this, Rocky?
It was on it was on our Instagram, yeah, Rocky and Mayur.
I'll check it out, yeah. I'd love to see this. The first episode 1, first shot.
First shot, yeah, opening shot.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So on that note, guys, do write in to us at homp2020@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your stories about your travels, your favorite drive, your favorite restaurant, where we should go, what we should try. And we'd like to really know what you guys think are some of the most spectacular places to visit in this country by road, because we really want to do all of it by road because we really value the road. And until we can get to the highway and you can get to the highway, we'll try to bring the highway to you through this show. But we really want to be proud of it. So sign up for our newsletter. Wherever you listen to this podcast, click on that link and fill in the form. Write into us at homp2020@gmail.com and become a part of the Hompers community. So before we go, we should give you the food court, unless you guys have any other memorable person you'd want to mention.
There are so many memorable people. Yeah, I mean, there was Prem Koshi from Bangalore, who is quite a legend in food. Yeah, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. He knows everything about it. He runs Koshi's, of course, for those of you who may not know. And what's his brother's name is Santosh, I think. So it's Prem and Santosh, which you'll find at Koshi's, which at least we do. We love that place. And just a shout out to, all these people that we meet who are so dedicated to food, dedicated to carrying on the old recipes, the old way of doing things. These are real treasures of our nation here. So please take your patronage to these places, these old places that have old tastes. Don't let them go, because they're reservoirs of so much food history and heritage. And when they go, we'll just be a poorer people. I know modernization is the buzzword around here, but we still need these places here. So, whether it's these guys or the brothers who run Ayodhya, the restaurant Ayodhya that we went to, was Ram Chandraji was the manager.
In Mangalore.
In Mangalore. I mean, those guys, such a wonderful place, such old recipes. And the most expensive thing was like for 15 rupees here. So I think when those places go, we'll lose out something. So don't let these places die out. Vidyarthi Bhavan, another legend.
Gambal Mess, Mylapore in Chennai.
Yes. I mean, so many all across the country here, So just keep them going. Keep your patronage going. Keep exploring food once the lockdown is over, once the disease is under control or devastated or destroyed. And hopefully, these places will survive forever.
Yeah. As one last parting word, Abhinandan mentioned something, or another one of the wonderful people that wrote in about unity in our country and how this whole thing of don't make it. And food is a great example of that. Food is a great example of how we really, if we treat differences with curiosity and a desire to learn and see how things are different and why they're interesting, as opposed to making it grounds for putting people or communities or everything in boxes and saying they're not like us. So, we are right, they're this way, we are that way. The moment that starts, then we go down the path that we're seeing. But instead, if we just look at it as, wow, this is different. This is nothing like we've tried or we've tasted. Let's try it. Then, like in food, you'll find in life also things will take on a much greater hue. They'll be much more interesting and entertaining because you went at it just from that point of curiosity and wanting to learn why and how things are different.
And when we guys go out there with curiosity, we will make sure that curiosity killed the bat.
And listen, this reminds me of one of those episodes of Star Trek that I saw as a boy, where one race of people is half black and half white, and the other race is half white and half black. And they fight with each other because they're the opposite sides of black and white. I realized, that day as a child, I realized how stupid fighting over differences is, because they're as ridiculous as that here. I mean, who cares who you are? As long as you're an Indian, you're my brother or sister, man. And that's how it should be. With apologies to my wife and children who are not my brothers and sisters.
That's a very good thought to cling on to.
Yes, clarity is important.
Cling on, Star Trek joke, cling on. What is common between Star Trek and toilet paper? They both search Uranus for Klingons.
On that appetizing joke, let me kick off the food court.
Thank you.
Here goes. Since this one is dedicated to friends who would like us to get on the road and would like to join us in different stretches, can't wait to hit the road, kissing frogs and turning into toads. Saath mein hoga jashan, cause yara da tashan fellas, yara da tashan.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Deep Punjabi quotes. We've talked about so many fishes from Sri Lanka to Mauritius. They all taste best fried in a pan. I'm so happy we did this. We must dedicate more episodes to our fan.
Doggy, very good.
Sovesh, Preetam, Abhinandan, the fans and the lovers of the show are so many. With lots of love and respect, I'd like from us to dedicate this episode to Jude's granny.
Oh, how sweet. Yeah, Jude.
Thank you, Jude.
Thank you, Jude, for making this happen. Really appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jude. Take care, man. Take care. All the best, yeah.
Jude produces this podcast series amongst others. So thanks, Jude. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all who've been supporting us. Until the next week, Have a good life. Peace be with you.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.